So what I'm going to do is talk about climate change in the American mind. This is going to draw on a number of years of research. Just to give you a quick introduction, over the past month, we've released a whole series of reports, including Americans' global warming beliefs and attitudes. You know, many of you have already seen this, that we've seen some pretty significant declines in the percentage of Americans who believe that climate change is happening, is human-caused, is anything to worry about, and so on, and I won't belabor that. We've got another report on public support for clean energy and climate policies, and actually the news is a little bit better there. We find very strong support remaining for a lot of clean energy policies. People's behaviors to both conserve energy and resources at home. Global Warming 6 Americas, I'll come back to that a little bit later. We just released one on youth and their perceptions, and one that we're actually going to release the next week or two, which I'm very excited about, is the role of race and ethnicity on this issue. And one of the interesting findings there is that, contrary to perhaps common wisdom, minorities care a lot more about this issue than whites do. Okay, and I think that's opening up new conversations, new opportunities to get other groups involved. But what I'm actually not going to talk so much about the burble of changes in top-line results. Instead, I wanted to kind of take a deeper look at some of the underlying psychological, cultural, political factors that are influencing a lot of these other trends. Okay, so Sabina showed this earlier, so I won't talk too much about it, but we know that, at least within my field of risk perception and decision making, we use a common framework of distinguishing between this analytic system and an experiential system. This analytic system encodes reality in these abstract symbols, words, and numbers. The IPCC graphs that Sabina showed us earlier is a perfect example of that. But there's this other system that Dan talked a lot about yesterday in his own language and his own frameworks, that encodes reality in these concrete images and metaphors and narratives. This is the realm where emotion and affect, as in good and bad feelings, exist. And it turns out this is a really powerful processing system in terms of helping us appreciate risk and make decisions about it. And so I'm going to really focus more on this side of things. All right, so I'd like to just share with you, and we'll actually run the experiment, of a question that I often ask in these national scale surveys. So we can all play along. Okay, sit back for a second and just answer this question to yourself. What's the first thought or image that comes to mind when you think of global warming? Okay, don't say anything. Okay, now just out of curiosity, how many people have something to do with melting ice? Sea ice retreat, ice shelves melting, breaking off the Antarctic, glaciers melting around the world. Okay, it's remarkable. This always works. Well, that's what many of the American public think as well. Now, this data is from 2003. I'll show you 2010 in a moment. But basically what we have consistently found is that many Americans think of melting ice. Okay? And when we ask them, is this a good thing or a bad thing, they overwhelmingly say it's a bad thing. And it's not a surprise, because it's become one of the icons of this issue. I mean, if you're a TV broadcast and you're trying to show climate change, this is what you tend to see. The ice shelves, breaking off Antarctica, or these giant glaciers, calving. I mean, it's good imagery. Okay, and it's also been very useful as a way of helping people understand that it's happening, because it draws right on in an experiential, embodied understanding that we all have. Okay? You take a glass of ice and you walk outside on a hot day, what happens? It melts. When the spring temperatures come up, as they are right now, what happens to all the snow outside? It melts. Okay? We all intuitively understand this from lots and lots of experience. So when we hear that global warming is causing ice to melt around the world, and we see the pictures of it, it really does help people understand, yes, this is happening. Okay, that's the good news. On the other side, now those people who are thinking of melting ice, please raise your hands again, please. Okay, thank you. Now, keep them up. Please keep your hand up if you live in the Antarctic or on the Arctic Ocean or right next to a melting glacier. Okay. That's also a consistent finding, is that this is often seen as a distant problem. Okay? Distant in space, it's mostly impacting polar regions or Bangladesh or small island countries, not us, not me, not my community. And distant in time, that the impacts won't be felt for a generation or more. So it's easy to to basically stick it on the back burner, even though we know that the pot is starting to boil over. Okay. Next, we see a lot of associations to just warming temperatures, global warming, temperatures going up. Ozone, another one I want to focus on a little bit. We know that many Americans continue to think that climate change and ozone hole are the exact same thing. Okay? And I won't go into the long story here, but the short of it is that people often confuse two very different metaphors. The ozone hole, I mean, first of all, most people don't have a lot of shelf space devoted to atmospheric processes. Okay? We mostly live at about 12 feet and down. And so people got introduced to this idea that there's this protective layer around the Earth, like a roof, and that there's this hole in it. Hey, thank you, NASA. Look at that wonderful picture, okay, of the hole. And that carried with it, the very term itself carried with it the requisite response. If you have a hole in the roof, what are you supposed to do? Fix the hole. Okay? By contrast, global warming, what do you do with that? Climate change, that's even worse. I mean, totally ambiguous. But what people then learned about was this other thing called the greenhouse effect. Okay? Greenhouse effect. Again, limited shelf space in the mind, and some people squish these two things together, and therefore they reason that the reason why we're warming up is because there's a hole in the greenhouse. And that's either letting more sunlight in, warming up the planet, or some people flip it around and say the heat's going to escape out the hole and thereby send the Earth into a new ice age. Perfectly logical, perfectly rational, completely wrong. Okay? One other thing I want to say about this line of research is that over the years, one of the most important things is what we don't find. Okay? In years of asking this, we see almost no one associating global warming with impacts on human health. Okay? Not infectious diseases, not heat stroke, not asthma, not the effects of extreme weather events, and so on. And in fact, when we ask people to assess the likelihood and severity of impacts on human health, half the country won't even guess. They'll say, I don't know. They're willing to guess about the impacts of sea level rise or forest fires or droughts or all kinds of other things, but they won't even hazard a guess on human health. And those that do underestimate the impacts, the projected impacts, by an order of magnitude. Okay? And yet, when you give people a list of here are the potential impacts of climate change, and you include human health in that, that's one of the top things people say, oh, I would be worried about that. Okay? So there's health and there's climate change, and people just simply haven't connected the dots. Okay? And I think that's a real challenge for the community at large, is how to help people connect those dots. And in fact, some of our experimental work is already showing that it seems to be one of the message frames that actually translates across different groups. Okay? And it helps open the conversation and to include new audience participants.